Hey guys, this is James, and we are here in Taiwan, Taipei, Taiwan, where it is currently 81 degrees Fahrenheit because I have not yet converted to the metric system, and 61 relative humidity. And I am joined here by my good friend, the notorious Garrett. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started drinking tea, and what type of teas you do like?
Sure. I drink a lot of Pu'erh right now, a lot of aged raw Pu'erh. I started drinking probably when I was way younger, just started with like herbal teas and all that stuff, but I visited a Taiwanese person, seller in downtown Seattle, and she kind of turned me on to bright Pu'erh, and then like that just kind of cascaded into what it is right now, which is like all sorts of different types of aged and like raw and all that jazz.
Yep. Yeah. So Garrett's a friend back in Seattle, so we often meet up and drink tea, which is usually Pu'erh these days,
right.
Together. So what are you doing in Taiwan? What have you sort of been like looking out for?
Yeah, so in Taiwan I'm looking for aged cakes probably from like the mid-2000s, and I've acquired a few of them actually so far. Looking at things, I like a lot of wetter storage, maybe similar to Hong Kong storage, but we're always not super sure if it's actually been Hong Kong storage, but we can definitely taste that dankness, which I enjoy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Dankness.
And sort of what you mean by that is like, the sort of like profile, the storage that you're going after,
right?
Which is stereotypically associated with Hong Kong. Maybe it was stored in Taiwan or somewhere else humid, but as long as it sort of has that style of storage, then it's all good.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I've been looking for, and yeah. So right now. So you let these guys know what we're brewing up.
So this is a tea that you acquired just yesterday, right?
Right. Yep. Yesterday.
And so do you want to show them what the cake is?
Sure. So this is at least the vendor let us know it's a 90s Hong Kong style paperless. So as you can see,
it's a naked cake.
A naked cake.
So
no business.
Don't show your children.
Oh, yeah.
Get them away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't put up the R-rated, X-rated movie sign.
Ooh, that would. It's a pretty good cake. I just took it out of the bag right now, and it's just like I can just smell that dry leaf is.
Yeah.
It's got that nice wet kind of woody, evergreeny kind of scent to it.
And the leaves itself look to be about average sized. And
Sure.
do you want to have a smell of that?
Smell that, yeah. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of like leather. More of that evergreen smell.
And it definitely has that sort of smell of the dank, humid environment. And so for some of these teas, I also enjoy this tea. So Garrett and I have traveled around to a number of different tea shops, sort of asking for these sort of like, it doesn't really matter what exactly the age is, but like wrapperless or something that's not made by one of the bigger factories like Dai or Shaguan. And do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of like the vendor that we ran into? Because we often end up on the conversation point about Dai and Shaguan and maybe some of the prices that are associated with some of those brands.
So the vendor who we went to yesterday to acquire this Hong Kong paperless cake, he started specifically talking about kind of what his philosophy is about sourcing cakes, and he likes to go to Hong Kong and just get kind of those privately made cakes that aren't Dai or Jiangwan. And he specifically was saying like, I don't do any Dai because it's just way too expensive, and that's something that we've, as you were saying, like we've heard a lot of from a lot of different vendors that they just like Monghai the price is really skyrocketed, and I see a lot of vendors kind of wanting to. I don't know if it's because we're Western or but wanting to give us something that's a better value, or at least what we feel is a better value.
Yeah, and I think part of that is people might realize that, like the 90s dyes and stuff like that, we're talking like a few $100s at least per cake.
Right. Right.
And like selling something for $300 or $400, it might happen now and then, but I imagine that it's quite rare, especially at a place like Taiwan, where the cost of living's a little bit less than what we're used to, at least in Seattle. So it might even be more of a luxury item than we even think of it as.
Right. Yeah, it's something that would definitely be like a once in a while thing, or the hardcore collector who's like really into those expensive cakes and probably leads a lifestyle of.
Yeah. Exactly. And so what we've ended up gravitating towards is just sort of asking for these sort of like zhongcha, which is just like the Chinese symbol, so a very generic wrapper, or 90s wrapper, and it's hard, and basically it's sort of like these white label cakes where the tea itself has to speak to you in order to make sort of that purchase.
Right.
Yeah. Shall we drink?
Let's.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's very soft. Soft like a baby's bottom.
Yeah. I'm getting almost... It's like a pine, maybe like a roasted pine nuttiness to it. It's kind of, it's good. I definitely agree with you on the softness.
Maybe a little bit of wood too.
Yeah.
We've also slowly been acquiring a very... neither of us are fluent in Chinese, to say the least. So we've been acquiring the vocabs along the way. So we've been learning some terms like jiangxiang.
Jiangxiang, yeah.
Which is like
camphor, right?
Aroma, yeah.
Camphor aroma.
Exactly. So they often say that, and so whatever they often say, we have to look it up afterwards. We're like, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to communicate. And yeah. So, this vendor yesterday, you were saying earlier that he was kind of different from the other vendors, that like it seemed like he had more of like a legit business setup. But do you want to talk about a little bit of the other vendors who we experienced and kind of?
Oh man, we've experienced a lot of different vendors. But so we've just, some of the people we've gone to have been recommendations.
Right.
Others have been like, we just see a bunch of Pu'erh cakes. Other ones have been sort of like combing from online. So we've had a variety of different shopping experiences. We've gone from like basically a guy that his house is right here, and then he owns the sort of like the lot or the garage next to it.
Sure.
But he just dumps all of his tea there, but he's also sort of using it as storage for his kids' stuff. So at one point I had to go to the bathroom, so I had to like walk through his house and see his like two kids playing video games out there. So it's been fun and somewhat adventurous to have these experiences. Sometimes people are talking up like the Lao Banjong or the Ebong, and sort of like they're like, oh, why do you want to try these weird 90s cakes when we have this fresh Malcha
2016 spring. Oh,
yeah. So we've had some of those experiences as well. But we've ended up moving more and more sort of towards this direction and looking at sort of like the makeshift chahai here. It's really got a nice oily liqueur, and I'm actually, the first infusion at least, was not particularly even that off-stored or dank or anything like that.
Right. This one's got a little better body, I think.
Very smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of fills the mouth. Not super astringent though, which is
not at all.
Really nice.
Very drinkable. I would say that some of the taste here is starting to get to like those like Chinese fruits that sometimes you associate with Pu'erh, so some longan, some lychee, those sorts of things. What have been some of the other cakes that you've acquired? We see a couple over here.
So we I have acquired a couple. Let's see, 2002 HOP. What is that brand again, James?
Taiwan. Yeah.
Taiwan.
Yeah.
Taiwan. That's more of a dry store, a little fruity, from a very interesting vendor in the Yongkong Street area of Taipei.
Yep.
And then a couple, one shop that we just kind of stumbled on, and we're like, oh, there's Pu'erh in the back here. I guess we should check it out. And I acquired a supposedly maybe an 8582.
That was the sample that we had.
That was the sample. So this is more of just like a man, it's even hard to like describe exactly what it is.
Sort of a early 2000s Zhongsha. It's got sort of smaller leaves, sort of middle grade leaves, so maybe it's something like a commission 7542. Maybe it's not, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a big question, I think.
So once you get home to Seattle, you're going to have to make sure you have a very thorough labeling system.
Right. We don't even know the name of the store that I acquired this one that you guys see in the corner there.
Yeah, so we've labeled it as Lady and Man Tea Shop.
Right.
Which is a terrible brand name. If you're thinking about starting your own business, you should not call it Lady and Man.
No. But there definitely was both those people there.
There was.
Yeah.
So why don't I push this a little bit? The guy at the store used very different parameters, so I was quite curious to try this once we got back sort of to our own. So push this for a hot second.
Right.
And I think you tend to like your tea a little bit stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we have a much darker liqueur here. Taking a look at that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's also take a smell of these leaves. So this is brewing up sort of a dark burgundy.
Yeah.
Always wanted to use that word, and I feel like it's actually appropriate.
Very appropriate. Yeah. Definitely just more of a danker forest. We have traveled from just kind of like a few pine trees to deeper in, maybe some rotting logs in there. Yeah, being from the Pacific Northwest, it's always nice to have some more of these danker teas that just kind of remind me of home and like the forest and stuff. It's good.
We have a very humid, very cold and humid, moderate and humid rather than hot and humid like this here.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about this tea now that this is your first session since the purchase?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I think this was probably one of my favorite teas I did pick up, and it just has a lot of the qualities which I like: the smoothness, that storage, and the price was right, I think, for the available experience that I've got thus far in this session and the session I had yesterday. So, yeah.
Yeah, and how much did this cake cost for it?
This one was 2,200 NTD, which comes out to be about
$70 or so, US wise.
Yeah.
And so, how do you think? So, I guess the question would be, what is the advantage to buying this sort of tea in Taiwan? Couldn't you just get? How does it compare, for instance, for the equivalent offerings from, let's say, a white tea or a Yunnan sourcing?
Sure. Well, I definitely think there's the prices here are much lower. Of course, you have to take into account if you're just coming here for traveling and like what those costs are. So I'm just like also vacationing right now, so the shipping is free, ish. So that definitely figures into it. The actual tea, I think, is in some of these more Western-facing vendors would be a little higher, 100, 120, even more now, I guess, with every year it gets a little higher in price, right?
And I would guess that the closest equivalent to a tea like this, and it's not exactly the same tea, would be something like the 1990s Hong Kong style that white tea sells for something like 170 or 175 these days. And so you're able to find this tea for less than half of that price.
Right.
So in that sense, it's very good value in that sense. And they're both very anonymous teas from the 90s,
Sure.
essentially.
Yeah, and that's what I like too, because I'm not into paying for the brand if the brand doesn't give me an excellent like feeling or gives me the warm and fuzzies inside. Not literally, but just like when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's good. It's good tea, good value.
Yeah.
So
I would say that sort of what Garrett highlighted is definitely accurate, especially for more of these aged teas.
Right.
For something like, our own vendor produced productions, like a white tea, a YS, a tea urchin production, that inherent advantage isn't quite as prevalent.
Right.
So, something to keep in mind for those of you that are traveling and those of you that are traveling that sort of like the danker storage.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that just about concludes this InBetweenIsode. Any last words?
I think we pretty much covered everything. So thanks
Awesome.
for watching.
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for coming on, Garrett, and
thank you.
we will see you guys next time. Cheers.
Peace.